Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today, we will explore together a part of the legal battle filled with abuse and conflict between two famous Hollywood stars, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. This is one of the noisy divorce and controversial child custody cases in the entertainment world. In this video, we take a detailed look at the allegations that Angelina Jolie has raised in court documents regarding a winery in France, a property they once owned together. Angelina Jolie has made a heartbreaking claim that Brad Pitt abused her and their children during a flight in 2016. The breathtaking details of their legal divorce and broken love are told in detail in this video. We will learn about the events behind the shocking headlines and gain insight into aspects of personal and artistic life in this confrontation. If you are a lover of entertainment news, please follow along and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any new information from us. Now, let's start this journey and discover the truth behind Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's fight. In a powerful and surprising turn of events, Angelina Jolie filed a cross-complaint against her ex-husband, top Hollywood star Brad Pitt, on Tuesday. And most tellingly, in court filings in Los Angeles, she revealed shocking new details about what she described as Brad Pitt's abusive behavior on a private jet in 2016. This incident marked one of the factors that led to the heartbreaking breakup of their marriage. But what's interesting is that all these details are revealed in the context of an ongoing legal battle surrounding a winery in France, which Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt once owned together. Jolie's lawyers have claimed that negotiations to sell her business shares to Mr. Pitt have failed. This led to a particularly notable request on her part. She had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which would prohibit her from speaking outside of court about Brad Pitt's abuse, physically and mentally, for her and their children. What follows, in Angelina Jolie's bombshell profile, describes a prolonged physical and verbal outburst in September 2016, when Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie and their 6 children flew together from France to California. These details are heartbreaking and shocking to many people. According to the records, Brad Pitt is named as having strangled one child and hit another child in the face. Additionally, he grabbed Angelina Jolie by the head and shook her, creating a terrifying situation. If this wasn't enough, the records also state that at one point, he poured beer on Angelina Jolie. At another, he poured beer and red wine on the children. These are the details that make the journey from France to California an unspeakable nightmare. But it is worth noting that the investigation into this incident was committed to the powers of the federal authorities, who had jurisdiction over the flights. However, they declined to file criminal charges. And just a few days after that unforgettable flight, Angelina Jolie filed for divorce. In contrast, Brad Pitt's divorce lawyer, Ann Kiley, issued a statement saying that Mr. Pitt accepted responsibility for some things in the past, but he would not take responsibility for things he did not do. This story is full of developments awaiting us, and we will continue to update all the latest information on this shocking legal battle. Ms. Kiley also said that during this year's divorce settlement negotiations, separate from the winery negotiations, Ms. Jolie's lawyer sent Mr. Pitt's lawyer a proposal to try to settle the matter. And that was one of the preliminary agreements. The proposal was a rule that neither party could make derogatory remarks about the other in public, except in court. Ms. Kiley said that Mr. Pitt's side agreed to discuss this clause, but when Ms. Jolie's side responded, she did not make a proposal to not disparage him anymore. Ms. Jolie and Mr. Pitt's separation has dragged on for years, entailing a court battle over custody of their children and, more recently, a lawsuit instigated by Mr. Pitt involving the French winery Chateau Miraval that this couple has separated. Bought more than 10 years ago, Mr. Pitt's lawsuit filed this year accuses his ex-wife of violating his contractual rights when she sold half of her company to a subsidiary of Stoli Group without his approval. Ms. Jolie's cross-complaint said she only sold her shares elsewhere after negotiations broke down over his request for a non-disclosure agreement. Her filing states that FBI agents investigating allegations that Mr. Pitt assaulted Ms. Jolie and their children on a plane in 2016 concluded that the government has probable cause to charge Pitt federal crime for his actions that day. In further developments in this case, there was a redacted FBI report that was reported by several news outlets in August, and later revealed by the New York Times. The report said that FBI special agents provided the U.S. Attorney's Office a copy of the probable cause statement related to this incident. This could point to doubts about the seriousness of the events that took place on the flight and add new significance to the legal battle between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. The appearance of the FBI in the case could have unexpected impacts on this war, and we will certainly continue to monitor and update any new information related to this case. This shows that this story is still developing and the tension between the two sides still has many details yet to be revealed. After reviewing the documents, representatives of the U.S. Attorney's Office discussed the merits of this investigation with the agent in charge of the case, the report said. All parties have agreed that criminal charges in this case will not be pursued due to a number of factors. the FBI report describes Ms. Jolie as ambivalent about whether to support charges related to the case. Representatives of the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles declined to comment. She tried her best to protect their children from having to relive the pain Pitt caused the family that day, Jolie's lawyer wrote in the complaint. But when Pitt filed this lawsuit seeking to reassert control over Jolie's financial life and force her to return to her ex-husband as a frozen business partner, Pitt forced Jolie to declare testifying in his defense on these matters for the first time. According to Ms. Jolie's account of the 2016 flight in court documents, the dispute began when Mr. Pitt accused Ms. Jolie of being too respectful of her children and then began yelling at her in the bathroom. Pitt grabbed Jolie by the head and shook her, then grabbed her shoulders and shook her again before pushing her against the bathroom wall, documents state. Pitt then punched the ceiling of the plane repeatedly, forcing Jolie to leave the bathroom. When one of the children took the stand in Ms. Jolie's defense, Mr. Pitt lunged at the child, forcing her to grab him from behind, court records said. During the argument, Mr. Pitt choked one child and hit another child in the face, the lawsuit said. The 2016 flight became the subject of media coverage soon after it occurred. In November of that year, the FBI released a statement saying that it had concluded its investigation into the flight and that no charges had been filed. News that Angelina Jolie sought information about the FBI case as an anonymous plaintiff in a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit adds a layer of complexity to her legal battle with Brad Pitt. However, it's important to note that it's unclear whether the FBI report was heavily redacted to include specific allegations that Brad Pitt choked or beat any of the children during the incident. Aircraft in September 2016 or not. This uncertainty could introduce more uncertainty into the legal battle and create additional tension between the two sides. We will continue to monitor and update any new information about this case to better understand this complicated situation and how it may affect the marriage and careers of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt have a special love story, starting from meeting on the set of the famous action movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, in 2005. In this movie, they play the roles of The Assassin Was Married, and their attraction became part of their marriage and later career. In 2008, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt bought control of Chateau Miraval, a property in France, considering it both a family home and a business. A few years later, the couple officially married at this estate, creating one of the most famous events in the entertainment world. They have 6 children, now ranging in age from 14 to 21, and their legal battle has placed an emphasis on joint custody and assets. A French winery, famous for its rosé wine, has become the center of a legal dispute between a divorced couple. The tension in this case not only affects their private lives but also raises many questions related to property management and children's rights. In February, Brad Pitt brought a lawsuit against Angelina Jolie and her former employer, alleging that she breached his contractual expectations by selling her interest in the wine company. Their wines for Tenute Del Mondo, a subsidiary of the Stoli Group. According to Brad Pitt's lawsuit, the couple understood that neither party could sell shares of the winery without the other party's consent. According to Mr. Pitt's lawsuit, Angelina Jolie conducted and then completed this purchase in secret, intentionally keeping Brad Pitt a secret and intentionally violating his contractual rights. This places an emphasis on honesty and respect in their business relationship and shared assets, and this legal battle appears to be just part of the complexity of their now dissolved relationship. They're broken. The legal battle between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt seems to be getting more and more complicated with protests and opposing statements from both sides. Angelina Jolie's former company, now owned by the Stoli Group, has rejected Brad Pitt's position and stated that the wine company's share sale does not constitute a hostile takeover. In Angelina Jolie's own counterclaim, she clearly stated that her decision to sell her wine business shares had many reasons, partly because she increasingly did not feel comfortable participating in a job, wine-related business, and also considering that Mr. Trump is no longer comfortable. This may imply that this business relationship has been affected by changes in the political and social situation. Furthermore, Brad Pitt admitted to an alcohol abuse problem and pledged to quit drinking after Angelina Jolie filed for divorce. This change in his personal life may have influenced his views and actions during this legal battle. This battle continues to be a messy and complicated affair, and their separation not only affects their private lives but also their assets and custody of their children. The claims and objections in the legal battle between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt continue to be contradictory and complicated. Angelina Jolie's profile said there was no written or verbal understanding like what Brad Pitt described, claiming that Mr. Pitt had in fact dismissed the idea that there needed to be a plan in place the relationship ends. This creates an environment of dispute over their past intentions and contracts. In this lawsuit, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie gave different explanations for how negotiations surrounding his purchase of her share of the wine company failed. Brad Pitt claims that Angelina Jolie pulled out of the proposed deal last year after a judge overseeing a child custody dispute ruled against her, forcing her to switch to Stoli Group. However, Angelina Jolie claims that Brad Pitt was the one who pulled out of the deal after she refused to agree to his non-disparagement clause, forcing her to transfer her share of the company to another buyer. The contradictions in statements and disagreements in assessing the facts and deciding rights create a complicated situation in this legal battle, and it is difficult to predict the final outcome.